Hello everyone, welcome back to another video. I continued to work on the skis this Monday, and the first thing I added was the polar bear does little ski tricks when he's a certain height in the air. And these tricks are randomized between 3 different tricks, so I'll try and show you all 3 if I can. There you go. I thought it'd be a pretty cool addition, since it's pretty bland when you're just spinning the same way through the air before, but yeah, I think it looks a lot better now. And I've also added braking. This was a little hard to implement because I had to work with the I had to get around the leg IK, and also I had to add another collider to make sure his feet don't go through the ground, but it's looking pretty good. And depending on how fast you're going, the brake animation goes between the forward and backward brake animation. So if I can demonstrate, if you look closely at his legs, he slowly stands back up straight the closer you get to 0 kilometers per hour, which I thought was pretty cool. It's gonna look even better when I get some particle effects of snow being kicked up when you're braking. I think the biggest problem with the brake is at a certain point, like probably at like 20 kilometers per hour, there's not enough momentum to like actually force you forward for some reason. So you just kind of like stop, and then after you let go of brake, you start up again. I don't know, it's weird. The other thing you can do with the brake is when you're in mid-air, it will increase your gravity by two times. So that'll help you get back down to slopes if you're trying to ride the slopes quickly. It won't reduce your speed while you're in the air, it'll just increase your gravity. So the last thing I did for this Monday was I made a raycast to check to see if you bonk into anything. So it'll point out the direction that you're going, and say if I hit into this wall, it'll reset my momentum back to 0. And that'll pretty much finish off the ski script from what I've all planned out. I still need to make some effects and stuff. I want to have some trails, some snow trails that the skis make, and also particle effects for like the brake and turning and stuff. But yeah, that'll be it for Monday. Hello again. This Tuesday I started trying my hand at making a clothing system. Some things work, some things don't work so much, as you can tell. Those are just the rig weighting from Blender being pretty bad. It's not much of a technical issue, I just have to weight the vertices better. But at least the shirt is deforming with the character, and I'll be able to use this as a framework for the rest of the clothing system. Yeah, when I go into vehicles though, it doesn't hold the clothing information yet, so he kind of loses his shirt. And then, as you can see, I've been trying to make a new camera controller for the skis. It's pretty jank still, but the idea is I wanted it to follow the character when he goes into like tight areas like loop-de-loops. It's pretty bad still, but yeah, it's not a one-day job. But yeah, you can do loop-de-loops with the skis apparently, if you go fast enough, that is. Oh, we're going backwards now. So that's pretty fun. One of my testers really wanted to be able to go through loop-de-loops, so there's some good news for him. Hey, there we go. A successful loop-de-loop. Let's see if I can go back the other way. Rip. This loop-de-loop's not very smooth, so I blame my half-assed attempt at making one. But yeah. Tomorrow I'm going to continue working on the clothing system and see if I can see how far I can get with that. This Wednesday I've still been working on the clothing system. I need to do some more figuring out of how to make this thing work. But what I've done is I basically have kind of a separate object inside the platformer that holds all the different pieces, and each of these has the script that attaches the clothing to the bones. And what I've done was I made a scriptable object that basically holds all the data for the item. So there's the name, the type of clothing that it is, a description, the actual model for it, and the material that will go on it. And with this, I'll be able to easily make like a whole bunch of different items that'll have like lots of variety. I still need to make a system for unlocking and saving which items you have in your inventory, but for now it'll automatically put on the different ones that I created. And I don't have that on the vehicle controllers yet, but as you can see, when I hop back off the skis, it'll put them back on the platformer controller. So I'm making a decent amount of progress. This is kind of new territory for me, so I have to watch a lot of YouTube tutorials on how to make this work, but we'll see how it goes. So this Thursday I've been working on the saving and loading of the inventory so that you can collect clothing, and the game will make sure that you'll be able to have those items every time you start up the game. So it's kind of hard to show since I don't have much of the visual stuff made yet, but you can see here. I'll expand it a bit. We have 0 items in our inventory right now, and I'll add, say, 4. I can kind of cheat in this menu, but yeah, in the game when you collect an item or something, it'll go into here in the inventory object. So I can change the ID to change what item it is. So let's say we got shoes, pants, t-shirt, and gloves, and I can change the amount that we have. So 4 shoes, 2 pants, 6 t-shirts, and 100 gloves for whatever reason. And then this save button here will call the save function. I can call the save function from anywhere, but I just have it right here right now. So if we use that, it'll save it to a file, which is stored in the same save file as the other data in the game. So the same as the settings. I might have to change it so that the settings are in a separate file, so that if you delete your game save, it won't reset all the settings. But for now, I have everything all in one file. So if we stop Unity, it'll still keep these here, but this is just how it is stored in Unity through serialization. But if it were to be a built game and we wanted to have our inventory space saved across a file, we won't be able to just keep the values right here. So if I make this 0 to delete everything, and then start it back up, it'll call the load function, which will grab the data from the file and then pass it through the database, and they will reappear here. And so what I mean by passing it through the database is I have a separate scriptable object right in the resources folder, which is right here. And this basically just has a list of all the different items that we have, and each one has its own ID. So starting from 0, it'll have an ID of 0, and it goes up from there. And so when it's pulling the data from the file, since it can't save like whole objects at a time, it'll just save the object ID. So say if we store the ID of 1 in the file, when it grabs the number 1 from the file when we load, it'll check here and it'll see that element 1 is gloves, and then it'll give us gloves and place it in the inventory object. And of course the amount is just also a number that's stored with it. So now I just have to make a visual kind of inventory and a selection controls to put it on your character. And then I also need to somehow save which clothing your character is currently wearing. But I'll keep working on that and hopefully get that working. I just want to give a quick shout out to this guy who's been uploading tutorials actually quite recently about scriptable object inventory systems, and it's helped me greatly with the clothing system I'm trying to implement. I never really knew much about scriptable objects before, so this guy has been really helpful. So if you want to know more about scriptable objects and other coding stuff in Unity, check them out. So the last thing I did this week was I was trying to put together the menu for the system where you can equip all your stuff. I had to do some finagling to get the 3D stuff to show up on the UI. For some reason, they made it harder in this newer version of Unity to do it, but yeah, I had to download a custom shader that someone made, and then basically I combined it with a separate camera that points at these objects, and this camera will only render the stuff that I specify, and then I use that to show it on the UI screen. And showed it to this guy. He's the guy that I downloaded the shader from. I also followed one of his tutorials on IK movement, so that's where I also came up with my IK script. So big shout out to this guy. All the shout outs are coming out. But yeah, hopefully I can finish this up by next week or something. But that's going to be it for me for this week, and I hope you have a good weekend. Peace.